Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the RRBG podcast. Today, I am being joined by Richie Londres. I want to say, am I saying that right? Londres?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Like Andres, but with London in
Yeah.
it?
That's it.
So I feel like this is all a facade, like you are a secret identity.
I'm a
'Cause you-
complete facade. Yeah, that's the whole.
I feel like you are Andres because you have like a Latino connection here that I wanted to talk to you about. And then you moved to London and changed it to Londres. That's what...
Yeah, it's like secret operation.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm from London. I was born and bred here, so born in Camden, in London. So yeah, I've just got a few generations back. We've got some Irish and Spanish connections, and I've always been more comfortable in a Latin environment for some reason. I feel more comfortable in Spain and South America than I do in England, which is it just feels more like home. It's very strange. So.
Well, the people, not a judgment on London or anything, but
Judge
just
away.
but like Latinos are, welcoming, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah.
Everybody will invite you into their house. They'll offer you some coffee. You know what I mean?
It's nice. It's difficult because I think English people are more reserved, but when you get to know them, that changes a lot. So I think when you get to know someone who's English, it's a very good connection. But obviously, it takes a while to get to that point. But with like Latinas, it's more instant. So it's a very kind of quick process. But I find that it's nice to get deeper connections with people. So once you kind of got past the whole I guess the welcoming sort of vibe, it's nice to get to the the next stage where you're like, okay, this is a sort of a real person, real connection here. But yeah, I like the whole way of life. People staying out later, families are out at night at restaurants. I spent a lot of time in Spain growing up, and it was always a lot more appealing to me than in England. Everything kind of shuts at like 9 or 10 o'clock, and it's like, okay, to bed, and it's like, okay,
it's like a rush all day, and then go to bed early.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But I think that's, to be honest, that the only reason is because of the weather. Really, our weather's so unpredictable and gets very cold, so we're more of an inside culture than an outside culture. So I think that kind of plays into it.
Yeah, that makes sense. In Cuba it gets ridiculously hot and they don't have air conditioning, so we have to go to the streets.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we get a couple of days like that a year, and everyone just like sweats it out, and then we're back to normal. So yeah, nice one. So you're from Cuba originally, yeah?
Well, I'm not. So I was born in Jersey. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to claim Cuba.
No.
Okay. But my parents are both Cuban. Then it starts branching out from there. I do have some Spain on my mother's side.
Okay.
And it's the part of Spain up north in Galicia where like
okay,
it's got some influence from like the Celts and the Gaelic culture, which is completely different.
That's it.
But yeah, like I've been to Cuba. I was there when I was 14, and at like 8 o'clock, or I think 8 or 9 o'clock, there's literally a cannon that goes off, like a military like boom. Everybody hears it in the city, giant explosion, and the power goes out.
Right.
And it's every day just to preserve energy. There's no power, so then everybody starts busting out the boom boxes.
Yeah.
And then the party starts outside.
Okay. Sounds quite unique.
Yeah. It's weird, man. I was born in Jersey, so I had the whole American life,
Of course,
Police Academy movies,
I
was the whole experience. And then I go see that and they're like, hey, this is where we were born. And I'm like, holy shit, what?
Yeah, it's very different. It's nice when I quite like being exposed to cultural kind of extremities when you go somewhere and you're like, this changes how I, think about when I go home. It's very different. So
it's very helpful. It helps you appreciate what you have,
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you say we get bitter. We're people. We get bitter at shit. Like, oh, traffic sucks.
Oh yeah. No, it's a different when you've got it. It's all relative, really. To be fair. So I think you're allowed to like traffic in London, New York, and all these places. Every day it drives you mad. But you go to places where they'll have like 2 cars. They're like, oh, it's a busy day, and I'm like, you don't even understand what we have to go through. So it's all relative. I think everyone's I think you're allowed to complain within your sphere of influence, I guess. So.
Yeah. Oh, traffic's bad. Oh, you have cars?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Things that move faster than horses? What?
That's it.
Anyway, so you're here. I want to talk to you a little bit about the music.
Sure, that'd be
I don't
good.
want to. We chatted on
Yeah.
DMs. I was like, look, I don't do the revolver, the metal injection. I don't do the questions. I want to just,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
do have curiosities. So
Ask away, sir. Yeah. There
yeah.
you go.
So like Sol Invicto is the project you're working on right now. You guys just
Yeah.
dropped a new single out,
hmm
and but it's been around since 2008,
Oh
right?
yeah, been around for a long time. Yeah, for sure.
And it was vastly different because the song, the obvious play is the new
Yeah.
single, is very heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've heard some other tracks where it's electronic, almost like drum and
Yeah. Yeah.
bassy and lo-fi or whatever. So what caused this massive change in sound for you?
To be fair, that's always been the plan,
Uh,
but it's just taken a long time to kind of get it to that point. Because my background, my loves are drum and bass and heavy metal. So that's my two things. And I always felt that they would never, not not that I'm saying we've cracked it, but I don't think both sides are represented very well when you bring them together. There's only a few bands that kind of cross over the electronic and metal thing and make it sound authentic. So that kind of drove me because I found that because drum and bass is a very London sort of sound. So I grew up with a lot of people into that, and I listened to metal before that, and drum and bass had the same kind of dark undertones to it, and there was a nice, really nice sort of vibe when you go out. You go to these venues and it's like a horrific looking back street that looks like really shady, but that's most of London. But the people there are all there for the same reason, which I found was the same with the heavy stuff. So everyone's there and like they're happy to be there. There's no bullshit. You don't get any violence. It's all like we're here for the music. So that vibe, I just like both of those genres, and I wanted to kind of combine the sounds of one with the other. So I think initially because I was making drum and bass with a friend of mine, and then because I knew Eric from Cypress Hill, so we had a connection there. I sent him some stuff just to listen to, and I was like, "Yeah, check this out, man." And then he came back to me, a few months later, and goes, "Oh yeah, what do you think of this?" And there was some guitars on it, and I was like, "Sounds great." And what's this all about? And he goes, "Oh yeah, I just got someone to play on it." I was like, "Yeah, it sounds amazing, man." He goes, "Oh yeah, it's my friend Steph." I went, "What, Steph from the Deftones?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I didn't expect that, but okay, this sounds amazing. So we need to push this. We need to do a bit more of this." So yeah, initially we started out with just because it's very DIY and very homegrown, and I'm quite I want to focus on that rather than I did all the industry stuff before that. I did all the pitching to labels with other projects. It's very exhausting and it's very unartistic, and you get drained by it. And this one, I was like fiercely, I'm just going to do this how I want to do it, and we don't need a label. We're just going to make stuff, put it online, see what happens. So that was the process. So we started out initially quite lo-fi, and also I feel me personally, I was learning my trade as well. I wouldn't say I'm not like a technically proficient musician, but I know what I like to hear. So I kind of just press the buttons until something resonates, and then I know what I'm doing. So yeah, we just started out like that really, and it kind of just started growing. But my plan was to eventually sort of progress into just full on metal. So to skip to what we've done now is we've split the project. So initially it was going to be merged, so it was like both sounds together. But because of the people I'm working with, it makes more sense to kind of divide it. So we've got Sol Invicto, which is the sound that you're hearing now. That's going to be the heaviest stuff with a kind of little bit of electronic, background going on. And then we've got the kind of like the private members club, which we're going to work on, which will be I'm working with Tech Itch, who's like a well-known drum and bass producer over here. And we're going to focus more on the drum and bass side, the electronic side, because then we can push it a little bit more. And there's not so much of a need to kind of make a song, or there's much less, there's less rules in that regard. So we get to kind of do both. So the people that like Sol Invicto, and they can filter through to the other stuff, which is going to be a lot more experimental. And also there won't be any, like we won't have a release schedule. It'll just be like, oh, we made a good track, let's put it out, because we can do everything ourselves. Like all the mastering is done in-house, like Tech can do that. We can mix in-house on that side. But the metal stuff needed to sound a lot more, I don't like the word, but professional. It needed to sound bigger. It needed to sound like that it kind of matched the vibe that I wanted. So we kind of split it to make sure that would get, its own attention. And also, we've never worked with a vocalist before. This is the first time I've had vocals. So that also changed everything. So I still want to do instrumental, moody stuff, but I do want to have a side of it, the main side, which is just going to be full on, just brutal, heavy metal.
And who's doing the screaming on that track?
It's a friend of mine called Sean Plague, as he's known. I've known this guy for years. We've been in a few bands over the years, just like garage bands, and never really transpired. And long story short, I mean, that's why I got into production, because I couldn't find. He's not one of the people in question, but I couldn't find very compos mentis people that were willing just to sit in a room, write some good songs, and not go out and want to get drunk and fuck around, pardon my French, and just make music, Yeah. So I got into production because I said, you know what, my friend got into production, and I said, I need this, and I don't need a drummer. And he was like, yeah, this is what you need. I was like, amazing. So I just started working on that. But so yeah, we've always worked. We've crossed paths over the years. Very talented guy, but very unknown, and one of those people that you kind of hear them and you're like, they've got something there, but it hasn't just fallen into the right place. So I just thought, yeah, I need to get him on the record. We were looking at doing something with, some names, not because they're names, because we like their work. So there was sort of some, quote unquote, sort of big name singers. But to be honest, I want to keep this project very ego free and very easy and no bullshit. So I'll work with anyone, but I want to work with people that are just like on the level. They're all about serving the music and I didn't want to have another name to it, because then you end up with this sort of like, oh, it's got this person, that person,
yeah,
and it takes
super
away from
group.
the sound. Yeah, we're going to get labeled with that, obviously, but to me, it's a project it's a collaborative project that we're all working together on. Because when I hear that term, I normally go, it's not going to be good. Most of the time it's true, but it's so we started working with Sean. Like I said, we were meant to put the stuff out a few years ago. Obviously got delayed, so now this is just it's nice to kind of get it over the line. And we redid all the vocals this year as well. And myself and Dan, the drummer, went into the studio, and we just kind of worked with Sean. And he's very easy to work with. Like a singer, he listens, and he kind of wants to try stuff. And there's no, there's not, I'm precious about this. It's just we're all working together for the song. And I think it's good, because I try and do that as well. Because as much as this is kind of like, it's my project in my baby kind of thing. It's important for me to everyone involved in it is we're all kind of like on the same page, and there's no I'm not going to get, if someone says, I think this bit would be better for that, we can change it and make it better. So but Sean is great.
I can feel Dan's influence in that vocal track, only because
there you go. Yeah,
it's a little story. I saw Sixth on the when I got the track. It said members of Sixth, so I was like, oh, cool. I wonder who it is, because I didn't look into the names, and I was like, I wonder who it is. And then I heard the track, and I'm like, oh, the vocals have some sixthness to it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And I was like, maybe it's one of the vocalists. I don't know. But then I looked it up. I saw it was Dan, the drummer. I actually heard about that band through their producer when they did their album, Bland Street Bloom, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
In 2006, we were recording our album. My band was recording our album, and it was like they had just recorded theirs or something.
Okay.
So it was Matt LaPlante, I believe, was the producer.
I'm sure.
He like shared it with us, and we're like, God damn, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah. Great.
I might be getting this story wrong. I have a lot of years of brain damage. There might be details missing. So any of my band members want to correct me, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave a disclaimer at the end for the, I'm saying waffle on, and then eventually that's fine.
But that's really cool. Dan was involved, man. How did you meet him?
Yeah, well, he's North London, so he's local to us anyway. I met him actually because I had a studio in North London for years, and he came in to work with a band that was coming to the studio a lot, and that was actually an electronic band. And he came in and did all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, this guy's obviously I knew about his band anyway. I knew about Sick, but it was very interesting to see how he worked with the electronic side of things. And he's it's a nice combination, because he's very precise, but he doesn't sound robotic. So there's like still a lot of feel there, which is important. And he was just recording with them, and then we were kind of working with different drummers. Like we've worked with like Zach Hill from Hella, and there's another couple of guys we've worked with, and then Dan is actually on our sort of second EP we released privately. He came and recorded for that, and then so we just got talking, and I just said, yeah, man, do you want to get involved in this? And it's been more of a, I said up to this point, it's been more of a kind of sessiony vibe. So I get him in and do some stuff, but with this stuff, I said, look, let's just do this properly. I want to get you in on the production side of things because he's got a different approach to me. I'm very, I see music like more of a artist, like a painter point of view. So I'm a lot more, I go with the feeling of it, and I go with, I'm not technically minded. Like I said, I can't read music, and I don't particularly want to, because I almost don't want to know what I'm doing, because I know a lot of it is probably not correct when I'm making sounds.
Yeah.
I'm like, these notes clash, but I don't want to know that they clash, because then I wouldn't do the things that I'm doing. So, but he's very much the other side, where he's very proficient, and he'll he'll kind of tablature out all the drums. And so with the vocals, it was really interesting, because we had Sean's takes and what he'd done, and then Dan came in and said, I've really got I can hear different stuff when he's doing this. I said, yeah, man, come in, and then we just worked with Sean, and all the choruses that are in there now are from Dan saying, let's try this, and then Sean went in and wrote some stuff, and it was a really nice sort of nice way to work. And like I said, it's nice when people bring things to the table. I feel I'm still there as quality controller, even though on paper I'm probably the least sort of known qualified person. But that, in my head, that's another story. So I'm like, no, this is what I want to do. But I think you do need to have someone who shapes it, because I have got a vision for it, and I know what I want it to sound like, and it's just nice when everyone kind of brings their elements to it and it all works together. So yeah, that was really nice way to work, and it kind of offsets the drums really well and just changes the pace and just little details which make a difference.
I mean, I connect to that a lot, man. That's, I mentioned that I was in a band. That's kind of the same vibe. Like I'm not classically trained. I don't know how to read music either. I would always just go with what felt right, or what I would want to hear, and then when you meet musicians, to me, that is the best, is when you're just collaborating ideas like that. When you have that connection, which is hard to find. You can't just find that with anyone.
Absolutely.
So it's cool that you found the right people, and it's clicking, because that's, I've tried so many different projects.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that's
always, it doesn't click. It doesn't click,
Exactly. I think that's why I've let it. It's not that it's taken so long. There's been loads of factors, but I think for me, it's always been about the right people, and there's no point in trying to make something work that's not going to work, really. So even if someone's incredibly good, I'd take someone that I got along with who was less musically talented any day, just because it's it should be it's meant to be fun, it's meant to be enjoyable, and I think that comes across in the music. When the band, I feel like I've always heard, I can hear almost like the intent behind the band. When I hear a band, I feel like I can hear the session, and I know the vibe of the session, and if something's off, I'll always pick up on it. And so I wanted that to not be the case with us. So everyone, you have disagreements, normal stuff, but you respect each other and you get on with it, and I think that comes across in the music. So.
Now I wanted to ask you also about Eric's involvement, and because I know that you guys, I was reading up on it, and that it basically was you two to start with Steph. And I want to know what his influence is in this heavier sound, because everybody knows him as Cypress Hill, not not a metal act. So what is his contribution in terms of this newer sound?
Yeah, well, he loves this stuff anyway, and I think he finds it, obviously, I speak for him, but I know him well enough, but he finds it because it's very different from, like you said, from his normal kind of day job. It's just quite a new, I guess, invigorating sound to it, and it. I've always loved. I love Sepultura Roots album, because it had that combination of heavy stuff with a very tribal kind of feel to it. So I think the percussion, when you get it right, it adds that in. But yeah, he just loves the music. I mean, when we were doing the original stuff, the drum and bass stuff, he was all into that, because it's something different. It's not just here's a hip hop track. And it's nice that we can push. We can push him a little bit. Same with Dan. Dan working with Steph. Dan can push Steph, and Steph can push Dan, and everyone kind of finds a sort of unique way to work together. But yeah, Eric's been great. He's like I said, he's very, he's part of the original project. So it was myself, a friend of mine called Alex, who was the original producer with me for the first EP. And then just Eric was kind of he was like one of the key members at the beginning because he kind of put us in touch with Steph, and then so it was like us four at the beginning, and then it just kind of evolved from there. But yeah, I'm quite. It's weird because you've heard the new. Have you listened to the new ones? So it's funny because when it comes in, you're initially like, that's a bit weird, but then you kind of go, oh yeah, this kind of makes sense. Like rather than just the straightforward metal stuff, it just gives it something different, which is nice.
Yeah. Nice, man. That's that to me is the best kind of music when you're changing and collaborating with people that have completely different influences. Because if everybody listens to the same band, it's going to end up sounding like that band eventually.
Exactly. Of course. Yeah.
So in that influence department, working with someone like Steph, who's got, this massive machine that he's created with the Deftones, is there moments where like you have to consciously avoid, oh, that sounds like Deftones, like something like, you know what I mean? Like,
really. I kind of like it if it does a little bit. There's a few of the new tracks, it's because it's like, that's why I like working with him. I mean, I've listened to Deftones growing up, and it's nice for me because I always wanted to hear like a heavier Deftones anyway, because I love the first two albums. They're like, that was more like my jam, and then I can respect the artistry as it evolves, and it has to. But I always prefer that. I just like the heavy, groovy stuff. That's what I've always liked, and I think it was just nice to say, okay, we can. There's no kind of method as such. I'll send him a song, or he'll just send me some stuff that he's working on, and then I'll start chopping it up, so it kind of works quite organically. But I think it's quite nice when there's a little bit in there. I'm like, that could easily, be an old Deftones track, which is cool. So I quite like that. I'm not worried about that because his sound is so massive and it is such a signature part of that band. It's clearly going to be in this band as well. Like it's inevitable. And it's nice. It's like a little, I don't know, like a little Easter egg or something. But I think because we're pushing it more the other way anyway, there'll be an element of it that crosses over, but mostly I really want to sort of push him as hard as we can go with the double bass pedal and all that kind of stuff. So that's the plan anyway. So
that makes sense to me. I know people people will complain about everything on either side of it. They'll just be like, it should sound more like Deftones or it should sound less. No. To me, I like it. I like the little tease of it because you are. It's not that you brought him in, but like you are working with him because of the sound that he has created.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you bring him in for that, like
of course. Be like, no, just change your whole sound, play something different, and it's like
can you do acoustics now from now on? Just acoustics, thanks. No, that makes sense to me, and it's awesome. I think the final result is like I got blown away because like I've heard like from stuff from 2008. I think it was, and it was completely different, and I still enjoy it because I also grew up. I think I thank, and speaking of British drum and bassy heaviness, but Prodigy was a humongous influence on me growing up. Was that? How do you see, as someone who's in that field in London? What does because for me, Prodigy is like amazing, but it's kind of like that Rammstein effect. Like people in Germany don't really like Rammstein all that much. They're more of a world audience thing.
Yeah. So I think Prodigy's like a proper, well-respected, kind of.
Are they the pioneers that I think they are?
100%.
Okay, all right.
But I mean, they were obviously. I think they were like the pioneers as far as they got pushed to the front, but they were very punky and quite different then because they would used to do raves and all this kind of stuff. So it was like a very live experience. So, and Liam Howlett's like an incredible producer as well. Just he's got his sound and he just nails it, and it's great. But no, I've never met anyone that had any problem with the Prodigy, to be fair. Like all of their stuff as well, because their old stuff's incredible. The new stuff's incredible.
Yeah, they also started differently and evolved to a different, heavier sound.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. So, but that's I think they're quite a sort of legacy, act now. So, I'd say they were well respected. Yeah.
Is there any other act out there in London that maybe hasn't made it to the States that people are saying like they could be the next Prodigy in terms of blowing up to that level?
These days, I don't know, man, because I think it's got music to me. Popular music, let's say, or stuff that's pushed these days is very clean and it's focused on look and production, and it's not done on like a, this is a grimy, that like the Prodigy is a very grimy sound that you can tell someone's just made that like in a, grimy little studio, and there's a lot of like vibes going on. And now it's the stuff that I hear now, I'm kind of dialed out from the new stuff. It's technically it's very impressive, and the studio wizardry and things like that, but there's not a lot of feel in the music these days. So I haven't heard anything that is even like the drum and bass that's hitting now is very kind of corny and sort of, we call it like clown step over here. It's very sort of like circus music with,
Are you talking about Clowncore, the band, the two guys?
No,
in the
I love
bathroom?
Clowncore. They're good. Nice. Yeah, no, Clowncore are great. They're fantastic. But no, it's just that kind of like cheesy, all that kind of business. And it's not like the drum bass I'm used to is very kind of dark and heavy.
It's leaning more into like a house or what was that stuff that kind of blew up in the early 2000s, like Sonique and like DJ Alice. It was kind of, it wasn't dubstep. It was more like housey, techno, ravey type music. But it had like, there always had to be a little melodic thing. Like Robert Miles had that.
Oh yeah, got it.
Yeah, so and then there was the Sonique had the little. There's like a little electronic noise that it's the hook. It's the hook that everybody gets hooked on.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think
with house music, I think because that's always been quite commercial in a way that hits. It's very non-threatening house music, So it kind of it's not been born out of a need to sort of push back or rebel. And drum and bass and jungle, that all comes from like the underground effectively. And I think when you take music that started as something underground and you commercialize it, that's when a lot of people kind of switch off. But house music, I think you always expect it to be like, so there's no expectations of like, oh, I remember house music when it was all about this and it was that. It's just like a, like people like going out and dancing and, good vibes and stuff. But when it's something that's very personal to your city, I guess, and it's got a sound and then it gets like taken and changed. I think people, they get turned off by it. It's like when you get like an old movie that someone decides to remake that was perfect 40 years ago and they remake it and it's just horrific. It's not the same. So it's similar to that. Like the vibe is not the same anymore. But the problem is there's so much music out there now that you don't, like Sean, the singer's very good. He brings new music to the table all the time. It's always heavy stuff, but he's very much like dialed into all these like bands that are just popping up and really underground. So I'm sure there's loads of stuff happening, but there's so much music now. It's really hard so unless you've got someone kind of actively looking for it, it's hard to find. But I think that era of like Aphex Twin, Square Pusher, Prodigy, all that kind of stuff, that's quite unique to the time. I think there's stuff happening now, but it's not quite the same as it used to be, I guess, which is normal. Things change, so yeah.
One thing I've noticed in the music industry that's changing a lot, and it's acts kind of breaking genre like through tracks. So like for example, Poppy. I don't know if you've heard of Poppy.
I have, yeah. I remember her from seeing her on like on YouTube back in the day when it was people were like, what the hell is this? This is really weird,
Yeah, super weird stuff, but like Poppy, like literally, the name said it. It was commercialized, pop cultural type of, and then all of a sudden, like she's putting out really heavy, crazy screaming tracks with like members of Spirit Box and all this other stuff. So and like even Spirit Box, and you see like bands like Sleep Token or something where you listen to the album and there's like, oh, this is R&B, and then you're like, oh no, this is gent. Oh no, this is I've noticed that, and I was talking to someone and mentioned that I think it's the fact that we have like a Spotify or we have all of the music in the world in our pockets, just streaming at will. We don't have to download it. We don't, and not only that, we don't even have to look for it. The algorithm's like throwing shit at you.
Yeah, of course.
So it's creating this new vibe where like genre doesn't matter anymore. Like imagine if back in the 90s or whatever, bands had a sound throughout the whole album. They might experiment. There might be a little drum and like Slipknot will throw a little drum and bass in there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the album is what you're getting.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
now we're in a period where shit's just kind of you don't know what you're gonna get. The next song could be nothing.
It's very strange. It's hard to. I'm not a big fan of it because I feel like a lot of the time it's done for not for the musical reasons. It's done to tick a lot of boxes and kind of go, oh, we need to cover all these different genres to bring in more attention and all that nonsense, like, you know, target marketing and all that crap. And that's where it becomes, for me, when it's done organically, I love it. It's great. But when it's done and I feel like they've had a big meeting around a big table with a lot of suits and they've gone, right, well, we do like this, but we need to increase R&B by 5%, and you do this and you wear this and here's your backstory. And that puts me off. Like on the subject of Sleep Token, because I've probably said this on a few posts anyway, because I don't really, I just say what I think, you know.
Okay.
I respect them as far as musically, and this is just my opinion, and who am I? I respect them musically. The music's incredible, great artist, but I find the whole thing very contrived. Like, I don't like it because it's all about the imagery and this lure, and it's, you know, if people like that, that's great. But for me, I like bands that are just like, you know, they are as they are. There's no bullshit. I mean, Slipknot to a degree, they were, because I think they were one of the first, and it was quite raw and like it meant something, I think, then. And I think after that, it gets a little bit like it's strange territory. Then it becomes almost theatre, which is cool as well. Like if you've got like, you know, something like that, visually it looks amazing and I get it. And a lot of time and thought has been put into it. But I think with that, the imagery doesn't match the music. It's like the first time I saw pictures of Ghost and I thought this is going to be heavy. And then it wasn't. And I was like, I feel like I've been duped. You know, I still, the band's great. I still respect the musically, but it didn't look like, I thought it was going to be some serious like black metal, you know, carnage. And I was like, what is this? This is really weird. It's annoyed me.
Yeah.
So I think that, there's just, you know, I might be wrong, you know, maybe they sat around a table, maybe it's just, you know, maybe it's just one guy and he's deciding to do it like that. But I feel like there's a lot of outside influence, and especially when the band gets very big very quickly, there's always a reason for that. It doesn't just happen. You know, there's always money behind it. There's always like a plan, and, you know, every band's got a plan. I've got a plan, but it just seems like bands like that might lean more towards how are we going to make the most money or become the most successful within this period of time. We need everything to be slick. We need this, we need that, we need a mask, we need a backstory for this, and everything's got to be, you know, just so. And I think you lose a bit of the rawness in the music there, you know. And to be anonymous these days is pointless. Like, really, let's be honest. It's not like the old days where you could be some, you know, unknown, like you didn't know what people did. You just kind of saw them at shows and then, you know, but now to be anonymous is just, you know, to try and create mystique. I mean, my way of creating mystique was just to not let anyone hear the music. That was it. I was just like, right, we're going to become a member. I'm like, we're going to become a members club. You've got to send me an email to do this, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, because I was just kind of tired of having to pitch it in a certain way and go through these methods. I mean, you know what, I just want to make music, and if someone wants to hear it, they can let me know, and I'd gladly, you know, send it to them. And I think it should be, for me personally, I just like that artistic way of doing it. Like, you know what, let's just make music and release it to people, and without anything in between that.
It's a difficult thing to navigate, because you know, you want to make a living out of your art, not to monetize, but so that you can not have a day job and just focus on your art. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. But it always seems to happen where there's like a point, like, how do you make that transition to where you're making money from your art but not selling out? Yeah,
of course. Yeah,
you know, there's that weird balance.
A fine line. I mean, to be honest, I've always worked. I still work. I work for myself. I'm always doing entrepreneurial stuff. I've never stopped because I didn't want to compromise the music, because I think that if you, and it puts you in like I guess a weaker position if you're just like, oh, you know, I'm going to quit everything and just make music, and then you're kind of stuck there, because then you're dependent on, is it going to happen? Isn't it going to happen? So I'd rather just always work. And I think I saw, haven't read his book yet, but Rick Rubin mentioned this, like, about, you know, always good to have a job. And it is. And I think it for me personally, it's like a different mindset, because I don't really want to be in that scene all the time. I don't want to be around an echo chamber of musicians and all that. I'd rather be hanging out with like bricklayers and plumbers and going down the pub and doing like normal, you know, sort of normal stuff. And then my music is very much personal to me. You know, I'm not sort of, you know, just only dealing with musicians, because I think you get into a different sort of world that way. So I think working it, but you know, we'll do a job that's not. I think what I did is do jobs that weren't taxing on my brain, that didn't make me come home at the end of the day and just like, I'm exhausted, man. I can't do anything. So I do jobs where I could kind of switch off. So I like sort of manual labor jobs that I've done, like warehouse work, where I've just been in charge of stacking a warehouse, and it's great. You just sort of run up and down, you know, climb up the aisles and put boxes away, and then I come home. I'm physically exhausted, but not mentally, so I can, you know, still write music. But a lot of people who get into very high pressure jobs, you can't come home after doing like a 10-hour day, just being on the phone all the time and just drained, and then go, right, I'm going to go and write a masterpiece now. It's like, it's not. You need time to, you know, so I think a lot of musicians put a lot of pressure on themselves, because it is very difficult, man. It's very difficult to do it. But I think if you can do it in a way that's balanced, like you have to sacrifice a lot, you know, because as you go through life, you'll see, you know what it's like. You'll see people who got on like a career early on, and then within 5 years, they're like, hey man, and you know, I'm all for people doing well, and I'm very happy when any friends of mine, people I know, doing well. But you'll rock up and they'll be like, oh yeah, I just bought this house and I did that, and you're like, shit, okay, I'm just trying to make sure I've got enough money for lunch because I want to finish this record, you know. But then obviously, if the reward of that is immense, you know. And like I've been in conversation with people that friends of mine that I know very well, and they're doing very well, but I know that they're not doing exactly what they want to do, and there's a price for that, you know. Like I would rather be in a position where I'm struggling, or just you know, I've got my basic needs met and I'm doing what I love doing. For me personally, that's a great position to be in, you know. Obviously I like earning money and I like nice things and all that kind of stuff, but I think the value of being able to kind of balance your life out like that is great, you know. So you're not like a desperate musician where you're only doing music and you're having to do like, you know, covers and things you don't like. If you like doing it, cool, but if you don't like it, it's quite painful to do that. So I think that I'd rather just work and then go, right, I just make this music how I want to make it, and it doesn't matter what happens, you know. So yeah.
I mean, it's tough, dude, to get to that point, because like for me, you know, when I started writing music and trying to like show it to people, because I was writing and just putting it away in a hard drive, but then it came to a point where I was like, I want to show this to some people,
absolutely,
and see what happens, you know.
Yeah.
And then when I hit that point, nothing mattered for 10 years. It was like music. I have 100%. To do this. This is it. Yeah. We got to make it. What do we got to do? We got to get a vehicle to tour. Let's do that. Let's do a tour. Like what's going on? So it all depends on your frame of mind. And as we get older, that changes. Like right now, going on tour in a van sounds like a nightmare.
Horrific. Yeah, forget it. I'm past that now. I'm like, I just want to be in a nice studio, cup of tea, you know, do a few shows here and there. But yeah, I mean, you know, I did a couple of tours with the Plague guys, Plague to Pyres, which is Sean's band, but more as a manager capacity anyway. So that was quite fun. So I just drove the van and arranged everything, and we did a few shows with like Will Haven, which was really cool. But to do that on that level, forget it. No.
Oh, you mentioned Will Haven. I have a funny story. This is the story of me getting old and dumber, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I was working all day yesterday. I was talking to you, and I'm like, I'm gonna go see Will Haven tonight.
Oh yeah.
And I even texted Jeff. I'm like, hey Jeff, I'm coming to the show. And today, and I get to the venue. I got home, I changed, I took an Uber to the venue. Yeah. And I get to the venue, there's a sign on the door that says, show canceled, rescheduled to November 19th. Okay. I was like, God damn it. Like, I just went through all this. Why the hell didn't Jeff call me? Why wouldn't he say, hey, man, the show got canceled? And I got all mad. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. And then I look at my phone. I look at their Instagram. I'm looking at stories. I'm like, they didn't even say it in the story. Like, I'm getting so fucking pissed off. Yeah. I get in an Uber back home. I'm complaining to the Uber driver. I just came all the way out here for nothing. Yeah. And then I finally get calmed down. I look at my phone. I'm like, that Jeff says the show's on Saturday.
Brilliant.
So
there you go.
I'm going to go see Will Haven tonight.
There you go. That's good. Then it works out in the end. Yeah.
But man, like it just shows like have, your brain gets deteriorated over the years.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, 100%.
what
I
the
think
fuck?
there's just too much going in at the minute. With and I notice it when anytime I'm on a kind of promotional run, as I mean, I'm just doing it mostly myself, and now it's nice the label and the PR are kind of getting involved, which is good. But the more that I'm on it, I just feel like completely like overloaded with just, even if it's good information, it's just too much. I'm like,
Yeah.
So I think it's very hard to like get your brain in order after experiencing that level of, so yeah, things like that. You're like, oh yeah, I'm good, and then you don't think about it, and then turn up at a place, and just because you haven't taken a second to go, hang on, let me just check this. So yeah,
It's tough. It's especially
there, yeah.
in the world that we're in, like in the world that you're in, like you have to be on social media. You have to, if you want to promote your band, if you want the people getting tickets and going out to shows. If speaking, I want to ask you about that too. But
yeah, sure.
To finish the point, like we have to be on social media. I have to post stuff on the page, or else no one cares about the show.
Absolutely.
So but it's unfortunate because we do get bombarded. It's just all this information and stories. And some of I can't use TikTok because it's one of those apps that when you hit exit, it doesn't exit. It just shows you another video. And I'm like,
yeah, exactly, yeah. You're like,
and my brain, and I smoke a lot of, a little bit of weed, and I'm usually kind of doped up, like just looking at the phone. I'm like, why isn't it exiting? and then I just sit there and watch another one. I'm like, it's getting me. The algorithm gets you.
It's designed that way, It's it's happening. You're just like, I need to get off this, and it's just. But it's very clever. It taps into. But obviously they have, the people that run these things, they have extensive like research programs, and they know exactly what we're going to do. So they just kind of, we fall into it, and they'll give us a little bit of a, reel us in with something, like they'll say to a band, oh yeah, to get engagement. I mean, a quick story on that is when I was using Facebook for a while. I still use it now, and to be honest, I quite prefer it because it's not as like intense. You're not got like I'm on my page and I'm talking to fans, and it's very direct. I'm not getting sidetracked by this other stuff or this story popping up. But I think it was in like 2013 or 14. We had, we had like 20,000 likes on there, and then within like 3 days, it went to like 80. And I went, I haven't released anything. There's no way this is legit because it's not. So I looked into it, and I noticed that all these, new people were coming from it was all from like Cairo. I was like, well, unless we've blown up in Cairo, I'm not sure we have. I need to check this. And then I noticed pages that were like kind of connected to me, but not. They were all having the same thing. Like there was a guy, I found some guy who was local, like a North London saxophone player who did like weddings and restaurants. He had like 100,000 followers. And I was like, this isn't right. Like, this is weird. So anyway, so I shut the page down. Because at that point, when you posted something on Facebook, as it went to everyone that followed you. Like, I'd post something and we'd have hundreds of likes, and just like not even like I give a shit about numbers, but it was nice to reach the people that have come to check you out. And then after that, I shut it down, deleted as many as I could, and then reopened it when the surge kind of finished. And I think that was the point when they flooded the whole platform on purpose with like bots and bullshit. So then they could say to you, now, now this is the position to get to your fans. You got to pay. And then I've done one Facebook ad when we released a record a few years ago, but it was pointless. I spent $500 and I made $501. I was like, well, I might as well not bother. I could have just, gone out and made $1, anywhere. So I've never done that, but that's a shame because that pissed me off because you've spent, and again, it's a free service. So what do you expect? But you've spent years cultivating this audience that likes your stuff, and then they're saying, "Oh, now you can't have it. You've got to pay us to get to your audience." And it's, and I think I understand that maybe as a business, fine, but as a creator, as an artist, a musician, it takes a lot of time to build that up, and that's your audience, regardless of whether it's on a free platform. Yeah. You should be able to connect to them. If you want to reach more people, fine, pay. But the people that have said, "Yeah, I like this. I want to hear more of it." So that's what the social media thing pisses me off because it's a complete false, sort of false narrative. All the numbers are skewed, and it doesn't ever tally up with what you expect it's going to. Like you can get shared on a page that's got millions of people, and you'll get like 10 extra followers. And it doesn't make any sense. So it is necessary, but at the same time, I think you just got to use it within reason, I think, and not expect too much of it, because it's like it promises you things that it can never deliver without paying, to get your stuff seen. And I just think it gets to the point where you're the only people making money are the programs. You're not going to ever recoup that money back. Yeah. By advertising, like at that level. Maybe when you're a big band, yeah, because people want the stuff and they know about you. But as an up and coming band, I personally wouldn't bother, because I'd rather go and knock on some doors or email people directly, or talk to people one to one. Better to have like 100 very interested, dedicated people than like 100,000 sort of, oh yeah, I just found you guys and through an ad, and I won't buy anything, but I'll just look at stuff and so. Yeah, it is like it's a great tool, but it's been abused at the top level, because it's just all about making money. So it's a pain. But everything is, that's fine. I understand that. But yeah, I think just as an artist, seeing what it's like at the bottom and then moving up a little bit, it's just it just gives you this like false pretext of like, oh yeah, I can do this if I just get this and I get these followers and this, and just make some music, put it out, and repeat. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, you should have a team of people doing this for you.
100%. Yeah.
You shouldn't be the one in charge of that. Otherwise, your art gets suffers. And for me personally, like it's a weird. I get conspiratorial, or I start getting a little too stony baloney, and I start thinking of like, oh, why are we doing this to ourselves? But we need to. We need to take, it's all perspective, man. Like, yeah, do we want air conditioning? Yeah. So I guess I need to work to pay for it, because otherwise it's hot as shit, and I don't.
Yeah.
And I've done it. I lived in an apartment with no AC and stuck to the couch. Like I just had a fake leather couch from IKEA, because that's all I can afford at the time, and I'm stuck to it like fucking the Blob. And it's a nightmare. So now I'll do whatever it takes to have air conditioning.
Yeah, forget it. Once you've had that experience, for sure.
So it's hard to, because I would love to get rid of social media.
Yeah.
But then how do I promote the show? And then
exactly, yeah. No, it's got some beautiful, like that. I've met some great people through it, and I've connected with a lot of bands.
Like me, bro.
Like you, of course, man. And it's nice, like you can have a conversation like this, and it makes sense. I think it's just, like I said, it's because it's like you can enjoy a bit of fast food now and again, but if you're doing it like 3 times a day every day, not so good.
Yeah.
So but then that's how they get you, because unless you're very self-aware, especially online, it's so easily accessed. You can't, even for me, I'll go on there and be like, right, I'll just go and make a post, like some stuff, talk to some people, and then it's like 4 hours later, I'm like, okay, now I know all about what the lemurs are doing in Central Africa for no apparent reason. It's very interesting, but it doesn't help me. And I think you have to constantly like check yourself like that. And even the silly stuff where it says, oh, you've reached your time limit for the day, and just like ignore, and you carry on. It's like, of course, but
yeah, you can't eat the whole pack of cookies.
There you go. That's it.
You can have a cookie, but don't have the whole pack of Oreos.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's that kind of mentality. Yeah, but I think I think we're going to be alive for a very drastic change soon. And I think I feel like you and I are similar age. Maybe you're younger than me. I'm sure you're younger than me. There's no way that I'm younger than you.
Just good life.
It's just like all those gray hairs. But we've lived through some wild changes. I mean, I was around when there was no internet.
Yeah.
And I've seen where we're at now, where we can't even live with the idea that there's no
Absolutely.
internet. When there's an internet outage, people go crazy. Like,
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna see another one of those drastic changes soon with all the shit with AI, man. Like, what's to stop someone from just putting in on ChatGPT, like, make me a new social media app where there is no algorithm that controls who sees my feed and blah blah blah, and then boom, in 30 seconds you have a new app that
it's ready to go. Yeah.
And then once that gets corrupted, you know what? Do it again. This time, make sure that this doesn't happen. And then I feel like we're into some weird territory.
For sure,
in the next 10 years.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like, I don't know. I don't think it's because I don't think it's as you're getting older these things change. I think it's a concern regardless of your age. I think as a human being, it's moving too far away from what we're just our basic principles, our basic needs are. So I think it's a very different world, and I don't know. I think as I value like human connections, meeting people, talking to people. And I think the more you remove that, then it's going to be very strange. Even now, like you go into supermarkets, I'm sure you've got it over there, obviously, but here they're just like intent on anything that a person can do, they want to replace it with a machine. So you go into a supermarket and you've got no tills now. There'll be like one till in a giant, shopping center, and there'll be like one, sort of old lady on the till, and then the rest of it is all like self-service stuff. And it's not, to me, it's like people are like they're doing all this convenient stuff for what reason? So you can just get home and watch more Netflix. It's not like you need to be that convenient in life. It's okay if things take a bit of time. It's nice to have a bit of back and forth with people, to talk to people every day. And I think that the more we remove that human element from every experience, it's going to be a very strange world. And if you've noticed, people are very short with people now. Like there's a lot more road rage. There's a lot more like aggression, and it's because people aren't used to talking. And the way people talk to each other online is like horrific, man. It's like, I find it hilarious because similar to you, I grew up, as I was growing up, the internet was kind of there, but it wasn't like a big thing. And, it wasn't like part of your, I still used to like phone my friends up on a house phone and say, we'll see you on Saturday at 3:00. And then you just all turn up. It wasn't like constantly communicating with them all the time. But now people are so detached from other humans that they'll just say some like wild shit without thinking about it. And it's it's kind of, people don't mean it, but you're kind of looking at it going, well, you don't know who you're talking to, and you just like come out with all this stuff. Arguing's fine. Like I love it. Even a bit of like, I love it when I get someone on the pages and they're just a bit like, oh, fuck you, man. Just all this silly stuff. But I'll end up talking to them. And then within about, I don't know, like an hour or so, just like a bit of back and forth, they're like, oh, actually, yeah, good luck with your next release and look forward to meeting you. I like that. It's nice because, initially you just, you don't think that there's someone else behind the screen, I guess. And I think, I don't know, it's going to be, I think interesting is the word, but I feel like a lot of people like myself, you're going to go back to value simple stuff. I like knowing that my food's clean, and knowing that, the people around me are good people. I'm getting to talk to people more, and, I'll make more of an effort to do something like, offline. Like I like going out for hikes and things and just simple stuff, but to balance the technology, because I really love technology as well. But I don't like the fact that it's just like all consuming in all areas. Like I don't need to text my fridge to let me know what's in the fridge. Like I should use my brain and remember. And if I haven't got something, I've got to remember that. It's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah, our technology is advancing for our minds, but I need it to start advancing for my body. I need
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Give me some new robot knees that I can purchase at Walmart or wherever. I'll buy it wherever. And then when I make some more money, I'll buy the fancy version. Exactly. It has upgrades. I can run faster now.
There you go.
Yeah. But let me tell you, I wanted to bring up that you said convenience at the register, but that's convenience for the supermarket, because
100%. Yeah,
for me, I have to bag my own shit now.
It's bullshit. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. No, I'm awkward. I'll fill up the trolley, and then I'll just wait, and I'll be like, "Can I get someone on the till?" And I'm like that guy now. I'm just like, a grumpy old man, and they're like, "Oh," and they'll come over eventually, and then they'll do it, and then it's fine because the person's like, "Yeah," and I'd say to them like, "I'm not trying to be funny, but like, if I don't, not that I'm doing some sort of grand gesture or like, this is like a cause, but if we stop doing this, then your like jobs like this are just completely gone." And it'd be a shame, it's not. And that's why, again, when I like I go to Latin America, I go to Spain, and it's still a little bit more behind in a nice way. So you go to the shops and everyone knows each other, and it's a little bit like this independent shops, and that, that kind of simple tribal element to life is, I think, very, very important. And that's why there's much more mental illness and all these things coming up these days, because people aren't talking anymore, and all their energy is going to like online streaming things, just all the basic stuff that everybody
needs therapy.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean,
it's like, no, how about you just go get a friend?
Go and have a chat. Yeah, exactly. Because the therapist is just like, let's come up with a...
And look, I'm not talking shit. I've
no, 100%.
Therapy helps. I've done it myself.
Yeah.
I'm not talking shit. I'm just making jokes, people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, some people think they need therapy, and it's just, maybe you just need to go have a conversation with like a stranger.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's important. Yeah. So, but I think the human, from what, again, from what I can see online when I'm kind of, you know, going through and promoting stuff, and I'll see videos, there's definitely like a little bit of a movement towards people going back to that. And, you know, just all the silly videos you see, and there's guys like, right, I'm just going to go and talk to a bunch of strangers today. And it's very weird because obviously they're filming it for content, and that puts me off. But at the same time, they're doing something that's good, you know? Yeah. So it's a nice thing to see. But, you know, I think we're going to hopefully go back to that. And then you could, like, you know, I grew up in a room full of a bunch of my mates, and we just constantly like riff on each other all the time, like horrific, you know, like brutal insults. And we built really strong friendships, which I still have today, because there's nothing you could say to me or they could say that would offend me in any way, because we've had that communication. And I think people miss out on that, you know, like banter, that old school, like round the fire kind of stuff, which we've done for, you know, hundreds and thousands of years. I think it's just important to get together, have a chat, you know, especially blokes, because women obviously talk a lot more than men do about stuff. And a lot of men are very closed off. You know, as you can tell, I chat quite a lot. And I'd rather just kind of, even if it's a thought, I'd rather get it out and discuss it and then open a dialogue with someone about things. But a lot of people are just like, yeah, I'm okay. Especially, you know, in England, it's like, oh yeah, I'm fine. And it's like, I know you're not fine. Like, just, don't bullshit me. Just talk, you know. And I think it's important. And that's why, you know, just like pub culture in England is disappearing, which is sad, because, you know, I'm not a big drinker, or, you know, I like have a little drink now and again. But that whole thing of like, you know, blokes going down to a pub to kind of like, even if we're having a moan about sports, that's how we communicate with each other. And if you remove that kind of element, it's where do you go then at that point? You know, who do you talk to about stuff?
Chat rooms, dude.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
Or no, there's a big online video game. Like there's a game called Final Fantasy 14. It's like a MMO.
Okay. Yeah.
And it has, you know, missions and quests and things that you can go do, but most people play it just to hang out. They just there's a town hall or a town area, and they just stand there and they're just talking to each other, which is fine, but it's not the same as
it's not the same.
It's not the same as being in front of somebody's, you know, even this, like I've considered just shutting down all Zoom podcasts, but then I thought, like, well, then there's people in other countries that I can't talk to.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But sure. I've noticed such a drastic difference in my own mind. Maybe the episode is fine, but like in my mind, I'm like, it's not the same as if I'm sitting in the room with you talking.
No, for sure, because there's loads of little idiosyncrasies that go with that, and I've noticed that through my audience that I've cultivated over the years. Most of them, I'd say 99% of them, know my tone very well. Whenever I get someone new come in, because I sound really, you know, I sound like I'm shitting on everything, mostly because I'm English. I'm like, you know, I'm just you know, I love all that kind of, you know, sort of self-deprecating kind of humor. That's just my thing. And they don't get it, because I don't, like, if I sat in front of them, they'd probably get it. And they go, oh, I can see where he's going. But sometimes I type things and I'm like, that sounds really rude, but it's not. And I'll be like, hi, like, ha, ha, ha. And they'll be like, oh man, and they'll think I'm coming across in some way, and then you have to explain yourself, and I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. But in front of someone, it's a lot easier, because you can gauge the tone, and there's loads of, I mean, you know, it's like, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's like communication is obviously, like, I'm just picking this out of the air, but like 80% is like, you know, body communication rather than what you're saying. It's all how you're moving and your expressions. So without that, it's very difficult to, you know, you have to use a lot of smileys and stuff. So I'm just like, anything serious, I never really use text, or, you know, it's all for, you know, a bit of banter. But if it gets any serious discussion, I'm like, no, we need to meet up, because this isn't I've fallen out with too many people over the years over ridiculous things that I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. And then you're like, forget it. So yeah, but it's fine.
I feel you. It happens to me too. I've actually cut off friends that
Yeah.
They're just rude. You know, and it's as I'm getting older, I'm cutting out more people, and it's not like some bitter or whatever. I'm just
no.
I'm not accepting stuff that just feels negative in my mind anymore. Like there's so much negativity everywhere else. I don't need my friends being negative. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, you want to be like a bit boosting. So
if we're gonna roast each other, let's go do that. Let's go have fun, whatever. But if you're just pushing my buttons to push buttons to get a reaction, get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah. But all right. It's almost an hour, so I'm going to wrap this up. Let's go back to the music real quick in terms of live shows.
Yes.
Are you doing them?
I would love to. I think what we're definitely we will do live shows. I think just we have to work around the touring elements of Eric and Steph and things like that. But because of the way the project is, and it's going to be more of I don't think we'll do like a tour, but we'd probably do like some one-off shows in like the bigger cities. Just might do like a couple in California and back on the East Coast and. So I think that would, and we could go out in various forms. So it doesn't have to be like all of us. So it could be just like me and Dan. It could be me, Eric and Dan. It could be Steph, Eric and Dan. There's various things. But I would 100% love to do some live shows. So I think to be honest, even though we've been around for a long time, for me now it's kind of like it's a very new kind of area for me that we're releasing music on all the proper channels. So I think I just want to see what the reaction is to it, where we're going to sit. And we need an album really. So the main thing is to focus on making, I've already started making it now. But I think I probably wouldn't tour until we had a solid album behind us that people knew. And then we go out and do something similar to like Gorillaz, like it's kind of like a visual thing. So we might even just be like behind a screen, or there might be a lot of, that kind of thing.
Wearing a mask. No, I'm just kidding.
No mask. Yeah. Just a giant mask that covers the whole stage.
Yeah.
Probably. But the thing is, like I said to you on the text, it's like I might say some stuff, and then a few months down the line you'll be like, he said he didn't like all that stuff, and I'll be like, yeah, actually it's all right. And because I like to just I have a very visceral reaction to stuff initially, and then I understand it. I'm like, okay. I'll give you a quick one. Like I remember once there's a gallery in London called the Tate Modern, which is you've got classics and you've got like new stuff and everything. And I remember I was at college and we were walking around, and there was a room, and it was basically like it looked like a guy was in there just kind of like doing maintenance. So there was like paint and tires and stuff and all this, and everyone's looking at it and being very artistic and going, oh yes. And I viewed it, I thought it was literally like a mockery of like the working class, because I saw all these like, things that I'm used to doing, like painting and decorating and fixing things. And they made it look like it was like an art piece. And I was like, I'm outraged. This is like just mocking people who've got jobs. I was furious. And I stormed out the thing, and I was like very loud about it. This is bullshit. How these rich people like just looking, And then I walked out, and then as I walked out, someone walked past me and went, oh, did you know that's all made out of resin? And none of it was real. And I went, pardon? And she goes, yeah, the artist has literally made anything in there is just made of resin. I'm like, that's not real stuff. So I went back in, and I was like, this is incredible. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So like, I like to just like, I'll react to something and then I'll understand it and go, oh yeah, cool. That's,
that's a good way to be, man. That's something that's missing.
You might be like, you'll put people's backs up because I'll have a very like strong reaction to something. But it's just how I feel about it. And then I'll process it and go, actually, yeah, that's actually pretty good. So it's like, Rammstein, I never used to like Rammstein. I thought it was like a joke, right? And I heard it, I was like, this is ridiculous. I saw it live, and I've never seen anything better. Like, fucking incredible. Like, it's my favorite band, bar none. Yeah. Like it's I get it now, But initially, I was like, no, this is silly. Yeah. So I'll probably go to a Sleep Token show and be like, fucking incredible. This is it.
So I don't like Sleep Token until they take us on tour. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. Yeah. Well, actually, yes. I'll be in touch. Can you delete this? You, sir. Yeah.
That happened to me with Rammstein as well. Like I liked them growing up, sure. They were I wasn't like buying the albums, but like, you heard Du Hast around, you heard little songs here and there that were popping off. But then my wife took me to see them live, and I was like, this is the greatest show I've ever been to. And I've been to thousands of shows. Yeah.
And it was a proper show. That's
like I've seen Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
I've seen Nine Inch Nails front row. Rammstein was the best show I've ever seen.
100%. No, it gives me like chills. It's one of those. I hear it and I just feel like just emotion. I'm like, wow, this is great. It just But that's like, I'd say very, that's the kind of the live element that I'd want to, not at that scale, nowhere near, but I love that, you know, that bands can do that, and you're like, wow, this is like a performance, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's funny though, because I was trying to say, like, that's such a good thing that's missing in America right now, which is being able to process things. We don't get to that point anymore.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
This whole political bickering that we got going on
yeah,
is just the initial reaction every time.
yeah.
There's
And there's no,
no
yeah,
understanding in between.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I think it's a shame. Yeah, because you know, if we can't discuss stuff, because you know, I've got friends that from all different areas. Like, I don't agree with them, they don't agree with me. That's just normal life stuff. But you have a common ground of like, I respect you as a person. I don't have to agree with you. You know, we don't have to argue if that's your favorite food. You don't want to go there, or you don't like this person. But as long as you can have a discourse, that's how we learn. You know. So I think, yeah, that is a shame. Everything's very polarized now.
And
So I think
it's polarized in extreme ways too. It's
it
just
is, yeah, yeah. But I feel
we
like
need
that's a
to
bit of
find
a
balance, people.
absolutely, because at the end of the day, anyone like me personally, I want the best for people. I want people to be left alone to do what they want to do, as long as it's not harming anyone else. It doesn't, you know, it shouldn't bother anyone. I don't like a lot of, you know, I think that the least government control we've got is better, you know, so we can. That's the tribal thing. Like, if we have small factions of people making decisions that affect you in the local area, I think that's good, you know, and be able to talk about it and all these little things. But everything's hilarious now. It's just very much like this and this, and it's like, well, maybe I fall in the middle. You know, just because I say this, it doesn't mean this. You know, I can pick and choose. I don't, you know, and I think people, as long as people understand that anyone in a position of influence, they don't really care about you. You know, that's kind of, they don't. Either side, whatever side it is, to get to those levels where you're able to control society to some degree, you've got to be an absolute lunatic. Like,
Yeah.
there's no normal people there. Like, you know, there's no normal people in big positions like that, or they're so detached from it that they don't. You know, if you use any services that you'd use, you know, in the UK or anywhere, when you see it on the ground level, and you're like, shit, this is what people have to go through. There's no way the people at the top know this or care about this, because you could see it could be done in a very different way. So I think, yeah, I think it's important that we all
stop idolizing these people.
Yeah, and just kind of like, you know, keep it simple and just go, you know what, we need some kind of, you need a network of control. You need rules and regulations, because unfortunately, a lot of people are pretty wild, so you need to have that.
Yeah, we'll end up in like a Mad Max situation.
Yeah, and that I mean, you know, that could happen. That's the thing. So I think you need that, but at the same time, it should just be like, okay, well, we've got that, but don't put too much emphasis on it. Let's focus on stuff that we enjoy, because I just think we're here to create. Like, my whole ethos is we're here to create things, whether it be buildings, music, art, relationships. That's life. You know, creation is life. That's it. So if we focus on that, everything else should just be designed to make us able to live like fruitful lives without too much interruption, because, you know, life's difficult as it is. So I think we should be making each other's lives easy as possible without kind of restricting people, or, you know, telling them what to do, and getting on. So yeah, but
find balance, people. Find a balance. I live in Hollywood, California, and I've got guns.
Blimey, yeah.
I've got guns.
There you go.
I like them too. I go shooting, but you know, it doesn't mean I'm a subscriber to any of the sides.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you're allowed to do that, man.
I lose friends because of that too. Sometimes you like that person? Like, yeah, man, they were nice to me. If they were not nice to you, maybe you're an asshole.
Yeah, you never know. It depends what day you catch someone on. Yeah, for sure, man. No, I think it's strange. It's like everyone's trying to very much quickly identify who someone is for a very brief interaction. And I'm sure there's people that, you know, like they don't get my humor, so they think, oh, that guy's a bit of a prick. It's like, I don't care if you think I'm a prick. I know I'm not a prick, but if you do think I'm a prick, that's fine as well. I don't care. This is cool. Like, but, you know, I think you just take people as they come, and just keep it as you know, personal as you can with things, and just be authentic. So that's the plan. I hope that comes across in the music. That's my thing. I just want this to be a very authentic, thing. You know.
I do. I feel the rawness in it. Please go out and listen to The Obvious Play. It's streaming everywhere now. When can we expect more? Is there a timeline?
We've got 2 more songs part of that EP. It's just a small 3-track EP that comes out on the 8th of November, with 2 similar songs like that. Yeah, I mean, the two ones that are coming out, one of them very much is like my favorite because it's a bit more of a slow kind of crowbar style chugger, which is cool. And yeah, more of that, and then we're gonna re-release, we're gonna release to the public the older stuff which we've done privately before. So that will come out. We're aiming for like late January for that,
Nice.
just kind of in between, and then the album, all tentative. But I'm gonna, I've got a system now, so I can probably stick to the timeline. We're looking around sort of April, around for the album. So it'd be like a full on debut album, like 10-track, 12-track situation. So yeah, that's the whole plan. So I'm just aiming to get to that point, and then after that we'll see what's. Oh, but also on the other side of the band, we've got the stuff I do with Tech Itch, which is going to be just regular like remixes of the songs we've done, working with other people. So there's a lot of scope to keep busy. I just want to keep busy, so that we've got stuff going on all the time, nice. And music for people. Yeah, so
nice. That's exciting, man. I'm looking forward
very
to hearing.
Has to be able to bring it to the public now, which is good. So
I want to hear it. I want the vinyl record so I can add it to my collection.
We got vinyls. Yeah, already doing the artwork for that right now. So
nice.
Vinyls, usual merch and stuff, and yeah, so everything will be ready.
Well, if you're down for it, once in April, once things are shaping up and release dates and all of that, let's get together again and talk a little more.
100%. No, that'd be great. And hopefully, like I said, I'm going to be back over to the States because I normally go there quite a lot anyway, just to work and stuff. So I should be back over there maybe this side of Christmas or after. So yeah, we'll be around. So yeah, I'll give you a shout for it.
Yeah, hit me up. I'll take you to the comedy store. We'll go watch some comedy or something and make fun of some people together.
That sounds great. Love it. Nice
all
one.
Right. Everybody, thank you for watching, listening. Follow Instagram. Where do you want people to follow you?
If you just go to the website, solinvicto.com, everything kind of, points you in the right direction. But yeah, we're on Instagram as well, Sol Invicto Music, and then Facebook, Sol Invicto Committee on there. Those are the ones I use mostly, but the website will point you to the right direction. So.
That'll be in the stuff down there in the video.
Perfect.
Just click it and go directly to it. Thank you again for your time, dude. I really appreciate it. Great meeting you and getting to know you some more.
Likewise.
And yeah, hopefully we'll hang out when you're here in the States. And everybody watching, thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all the social medias at RRBG Podcast. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Awesome.